Wrathion might be slightly more difficult, and certainly a fight that I think had more going on than any of the first 3 bosses in Eternal Palace. It actually does have some mechanics you have to pay attention to. So lusting on pull, because there's not a particularly better time to lust, I don't think, in this fight. And as we said, it's a dragon boss, so you want to make sure you're not standing behind it. And Raid just trying to do as much damage as possible now, because, as we mentioned, there is kind of the softened rage on this fight. As those pillars, each time we get into the pillar phase, there's going to be more and more. Now, you just saw what happened. You play a little fast and loose with your positioning, and you end up behind the boss. You will get tail swiped, which not only is a DPS loss for the melee that have to run back in, but also, as we mentioned, that slowing effect. You don't want to play around with that. So, not great to get tail swiped. Definitely want to avoid that.
Especially considering it's in normal and heroic, that mechanic as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, I suspect some guys maybe watching the DPS meter more than their feet.
Yeah.
So now I see we're about to get the fire on the ground where players have to find the safe spot and move out. So everyone kind of moves to the center of the room here. And now they've identified where Wrathion is going to be, and they move to the opposite side of the room, which appears to be triangle. So everyone moving here to the very edge. And then once the fire disappears, they will use the Warlock Gate to minimize the amount of time they spend moving. And then DPS the boss again.
That's a big old corruption area there.
Right. So that is what happens when you wear a ton of corruption. And as you get more and more corruption, that circle gets bigger and bigger and requires you to move further and further to get out of it. So some of the, one of the things in this raid that I think will become more and more prominent as we get further into it is you'll see some classes are better able to deal with the corruption effects.
Yeah, I mean, he's just standing in it.
And yeah, some classes have fantastic self-healing,
yep,
or really good mobility that allow them to either ignore the circle completely or get out of it very quickly. And so there may be some additional utility that certain classes get just because they are better equipped to handle corruption than others.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess I wouldn't have assumed that Ret Pally was a class that dealt particularly well with corruption, but maybe Word of Glory makes you able to heal through it pretty quickly, or...
Yeah, I mean, he didn't lose a ton of health doing that. But
yeah, maybe it's just not...
Yeah. So with the pillars, so say if they left some on the outside, is there still a chance that this small gap that they've got here could have the fire pools in it, if they did leave some on the outside?
I'm not sure what the...
So say, for example, where that purple star is, if they left that one and it made a pool, and then Wrathion does the fire, and that's where their area is, like, what happens then?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a priority, making sure that you kill these. And actually, I can't remember if the pools on the ground even do anything. I want to say actually maybe that the pools on the ground don't hurt. I can't remember if those pools are actually, if they just sort of signify that there is actually a debuff, or if it actually hurts to stand in them.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure chat will let me know very quickly, but the primary, I think, issue with the pillars is that if you don't kill them, they give you the debuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it really matters which ones you leave up. But again, we're seeing here that in order to kill these pillars, you have to soak 3 circles under Wrathion, and then those 3 players must make body contact with they have to run through the pillars to make them vulnerable, and then once the pillars are vulnerable, you can burn them down. You have about a minute to do that, and then Wrathion comes back down and becomes attackable. So now we're back to stage 1. Now, trying to make sure you don't stand behind Wrathion again, as he has the tail swipe. And even if it's not lethal, it causes you to lose DPS uptime on a fight where DPS is important enough. Now, we are seeing what I believe is the World Vein Major being used here, which is a thing that you'll be seeing more of this tier, and something we haven't really seen at all previously. So one of the essences that got buffed big time coming into 8.3 was the World Vein essence that has these shards. You see these blue shards on the ground. Standing near those gives you a buff to your primary stat. And it was a pretty undertuned essence prior to 8.3. Nobody ran it. It was an interesting one because it felt like in big groups you'd get enough of those shards on the ground that it would actually be impactful, but in practice it just didn't.
Against the other ones, it was.
Right, so the other ones were just better.
Yeah.
But the World Vein Major got a very big buff. coming into 8.3, and I think some classes now want to use that as it allows you to get a big boost of primary stat on command. And when you do that, you'll see those blue shards spray everywhere. So it's a good...
so it works better when more people have it as well, right?
Yeah, ideally, I mean,
you definitely, there's more than one person running it at the moment, you can see.
Right, so obviously, the more people you have, the minor effect of the essence causes you to randomly generate these shards on your own, like just passively. But the major allows you to summon a ton of them at once. Now, I don't know that anybody would run it as a minor at this point. Without you, like people might use it as major. I don't know that anybody's going to run it as a minor. But I think the major is very good for some of the classes that scale well with primary stat. So, again, you're seeing folks have to move out of this Gale Blast, the big orange circle on the ground. And Wrathion will then take off and perch on the platform, and you're going to want to move to the opposite side.
So that's cool.
So you got the raid figuring out where these fires are going to spread out to. They've figured out that they want to be over here near Skull. And... again, because of the new Mythic mechanic that punishes you for moving, you want to make sure that you're spending as little time running as possible, not just wandering around aimlessly. And, I mean, it's good in practice to be thoughtful about how you're moving anyway, because, running around is usually a DPS loss. So, again, we're back into the pillar phase. You've got the 3 players soaking.
He's got his thing from beyond there coming up. You see that on the...
Yeah, so the thing, and that's another thing you'll see from corruption. If you have, I believe it's over 40 corruption, you'll have mirror images of yourself spawn and then run after you, and if they touch you, they do damage. And with more corruption, the more damage it deals to you. So again, you're seeing the raid DPSing down these pillars. You want to make sure that as many of these die as possible, because any that are left up going into the next phase will cause you to take increasing fire damage throughout the rest of the fight. That is kind of the soft and rage mechanic of this fight. So want to make real sure that you kill these things. And one thing we have not talked about up to this point is there is a pack of mobs that you'll see being tanked in the middle. Those are a heroic mechanic. They are assassins that spawn, and they're stealthed. And you need to break them out of their stealth ASAP. You can do that with like flare from hunters or a few other things, or if you just straight up attack them.
I was going to say, can you just AoE?
Yeah, you just attack them, break their stealth. If they're not broken out of stealth, they can run around like stunning people and stuff, but once they're broken out, they're basically a non-issue, and you just kind of passively cleave them down, so they tend to become a pretty minor part of the fight.
Yeah.
But again, we're seeing players run out with this incineration in the danger zone here behind the boss.
Oh, there he goes.
The tail swipe that
look, he's got 30. And yeah, there you go. Drop the stacks.
I think I saw Aderin kind of smile there. I think he knows what happened. So got tail swiped.
This should be their final one, hopefully.
Right. So I think this is where, you would expect to have probably 2 pillar phases, and you'd want the boss dead before the 3rd one. You're seeing the raid move out again, and I think once the boss lands again, we'd be looking at a kill.
Yeah.
For Wrathion. Now you see the weak aura that Aderin is running here at the top. It says dot. That is how many of these pillar effects are on him at the moment. So that's going to be increasing more and more. You also see the move less weak aura here at the top that is telling him that he has 24 stacks. Once that gets to 50 stacks, and you get a stack, I think, every step that you move.
Positioning is awful.
Then if that hits 50, then you... start doing big shadow damage to yourself. So,
there we go, look.
All right, so we are about to get the first kill of Wrathion. Hey. There we go. And Midwinter's on the board.
There it is. 1 out of 12. I was there, Pog.
I don't know if that's world first, but I'm going to pretend like it is.
Well done, world first. Oh, well done, Midwinter.
Well done, Midwinter, with the world first.
World
NA
first.
takes the commanding lead.